Hello everyone, I'm Dan, and welcome to my channel. First, I want to apologize about the Tailed Beast series. I'll be holding off indefinitely for now to give way to this project. And as the thumbnail suggests, it has something to do with the Kanto starters and the Jurassic movie franchise. Please do keep in mind that I'm not an expert of this movie. And even if the series is Jurassic inspired, not everything will be 1:1. Except for this guy, which is obviously based on Dr. John Hammond of the franchise. For the character's post, I googled some action figures that I used as reference. Professor Almond, the lead researcher for the so-called Project PRTX, or Pokemon Research on DNA Crossing. And much like the premise of the movie, ancient DNA will be extracted from fossilized remains of organisms trapped in amber. The collected DNA is expected to be damaged, and so to fill in the gaps, the team will use DNA from existing Pokemons. For our grass starter, I already have my eyes set to the movie's iconic Dilophosaurus. I imagined that if a Dilophosaurus Pokemon existed, the successor would be the Helioptile line. And so, as a reference to the Helioptile DNA, I gave it its physique, but with the bulb growing on its neck instead of its back. And that was my first try. The result: the bulb looks awkward separating the head from the rest of the body. So for the second version, I just tried changing the pose. But when I showed it to the Reddit community, a lot of people thought of it as AI generated, which to me just means the design could still be improved. So my solution was to look up a Helioptile minifigure and use that as a new basis. So as you can see here, I changed a lot of proportions just to deviate from my first two designs. But there's still something wrong with the face. It's on my fourth revision that I realized that I should draw the neck to structure properly the angle of the face. Bulbasaur, from Bulb and Dilophosaur, the Bulb Pokemon. The seed encoded in its DNA manifested on its neck. In a lush, primitive jungle of towering plants, it is easier for it to collect sunlight by climbing up treetops. I even made it larger than Bulbasaur to give it a more ancient feel. For its hidden ability, I gave it a brand new ability called Heliotrophy, which restores HP each turn on a sunny weather or after a fire type attack. So to make it clear, the Pokemon will still receive damage from a fire type attack, then heal HP afterwards. For our fire starter, I decided to base it on another iconic dinosaur in the franchise, the Velociraptor. I decided to use Galarian Zapdos as reference on my first try. It didn't turn out well. This was my second try, but I failed to record it. I know I was going to revise it as well. I found this Arcan minifigure online, and I decided to use that as a basis. And that will serve as our DNA crossing. Charaptor the Raptor Pokemon. Fire type. Genetic manipulation has resulted in the tip of the tail being covered in modified scales instead of a flame. However, in the right conditions, these scales can still ignite. For its hidden ability, I also gave it a brand new ability called Pyrophore, which doubles speed if no weather and terrain is active when it enters battle. Now you might think that this ability might be overpowered, but given the settings of our made-up region, a lot of battles will take outside, where overworld weather and terrain is active, and less or almost none indoor battles. For our water starter, I decided to make Squirtle an Ankylosaurus. You will also notice here that I have only Squirtle as a reference, because unlike the other two, I already have an idea on my mind of how it is going to look. Now, the problem with that is, I have no DNA crossing. So for my second try, I decided to use Sandshrew as a basis, with the logic of maybe he is a successor of an ancient Ankylosaurus Pokemon. And for anyone who already saw my first version, it did not sit well. Squircle, the tiny Ankylo Pokemon. Water type. In search of pure iron atoms, it frequently wanders, tunneling deep into mountains and cliffside walls. Though this requires more energy, it remains undeterred by falling debris because of its tough shell. For its hidden ability, I gave it a brand new ability called Siderochrome. In rainy weather or while holding certain items, ignore opponents' abilities. Comment down below which starter will you pick. And to anyone who would think that this might be discontinued again, don't you worry, there will be a part 2. How so sure? I've already made the evolutions. And so I'm hoping you enjoyed and liked this video, that you would be looking forward for the next part. Until then, bye!